This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, sports trivia for those of us who rode the pine. I'm your host, Matt Takimoto, and episode 283 will feature the Benchwarmer team of David and Mason versus Benchwarmer Josh and returner and longtime friend of the bench and equipment manager on Patreon, Hugh Gitlin. Hugh, welcome back. Nice to have you. Why don't you fill us in on, remind us of which teams you root for and where you're from and anything new going on.
Well, I'm from the Twin Cities area, and I root for most teams with Minnesota in front of it. Plus the Arizona Diamondbacks, and I have a soft spot for the Cardinals because of my nephew down in Phoenix. It reminds me all the time, sends me little reminders. And plus the blackouts from MLB.com. Can't watch the Twins on my streaming, so I do watch the Cardinals backs, I should say.
All right. Oh, thank you for coming on back and playing with us. And Josh, how are you? And what's your team name?
I'm going to say I'm okay, and I think we'll just leave it at that. Yeah. I'm excited to hang out with you guys tonight and have a good time. And much like Hugh, I am also from the Twin Cities.
Really?
And we know how much people like to throw some crap at us. A little less that Dan's less involved these days, but nonetheless, our team name is going to be #TooMuchMinnesota.
And David and Mason, how are you? And what is your team name for this episode?
I'll go first. Yeah, I'm doing okay. It's kind of tired, really, but I'm always glad to spend Sunday evenings recording with you all. So, yeah, I'll let David take team name and whatever he's doing.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good as well. And since Mason and I are pairing up, and I don't want to steal any thunder from when Josh and Mason pair up, but some of us are sort of both math and sports trivia nerds all at the same time. So I was scrambling to come up with some kind of a sports joke or something. A math joke for our trivia tonight. So tonight we're going to go as the Algebros.
Love it.
Oh, God, that's lame. All right.
It truly is.
We've got the Algebros against #TooMuchMinnesota. Let's get a little more Minnesota. Dan, give us the rules, please.
The game will consist of 4 quarters of play, each with different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I will explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from their points accumulated to see who are today's clipboard captains, to be honored like the true benchwarmers they are. All right, let's get this game underway.
Thank you, Dan. I really feel like he went heavy on the Minnesota accent in that rules read for #TooMuchMinnesota. He's getting into the spirit. Okay. The first quarter is going to be sporting haiku.
Sporting haikus. For this quarter, there will be 4 questions in haiku form. Each question is worth 25 points.
Question number 1 in sporting haiku. Name that division: the Lions, Bears, Packers, Vikings, and the Buccaneers.
Check in.
#TooMuchMinnesota has checked in. The Algebros, talk it out.
So let's see. So he doesn't need a year, but
That's the NFC Central then.
it is the NFC Central before they realigned, and when the Texans came in or the Browns came in the first time. Can't remember, but yeah, it was the original, at least the way I knew it, the original NFC Central. So yes.
And #TooMuchMinnesota, what'd you say?
The NFC Central.
Both teams getting points. We're off to a nice, easy start. It is the NFC Central. How soon we forget when people thought Tampa was central of anything. It's not central in the United States. It's not central in Florida. It's not central on the political spectrum. It's not central of anything.
New Orleans and Atlanta were NFC West. So, you're just...
Right. This is why Americans are not good at geography. It was all these cockamamie old conferences and divisions.
Dallas is still in the NFC East, so
True.
they haven't learned anything yet.
Eastern Texas, though, at least.
That's true. All right. Question 2 of Sporting Haiku. Name that division won by the Atlanta Braves, 1993.
Yep. Uh-huh. We can check.
Hashtag Too Much Minnesota has checked in. Algebros, talk it out again.
So this is right when the Braves got good, but before the Rays and the Diamondbacks. So they were still in the NL West.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll check in with the NL West.
And hashtag Too Much Minnesota.
Yeah, that good old West Coast team, the Atlanta Braves, were part of the NL West.
Both teams getting their points. It is the NL West. 1993 was the final season of just 2 divisions in each league for Major League Baseball. Am I a little bitter about it because my Giants won 103 games that year and didn't make the playoffs? Yeah, I'm a little bitter about it. But let's move on. Question 3 of Sporting Haiku. Name both divisions. Big Ten 2011, not geographical.
We check in.
Hashtag Too Much Minnesota has checked in. So yet again, Algebros, talk it out.
It wasn't East and West. They had like this name to them. It was like
2011.
like Legends and
Yes, it was Legends and Leaders. Leaders, maybe?
yeah, that sounds right. I don't know why they decided to do that. I guess to honor the legacy teams, I guess. I don't know.
Because who would want to have 12 teams in one division? I mean, that'd be absurd. That'd be like having 18 teams in one division, which would be even more absurd. Oh wait, forget it.
Or two in one and 2 in a whole conference,
Right, exactly.
In a conference that doesn't exist anymore.
So you good with Legends and Leaders?
Yeah, me with that.
Okay, we'll check that in.
And hashtag Too Much Minnesota.
Yeah, Legends and Leaders, they wanted to split up Michigan and Ohio State. So the way they did it is kind of put a diagonal through the conference, and teams north of the line in one division, northwest of the line in one division, and southeast of the line in another division. So it's basically what they did.
Exactly. And both teams are getting points. This is the Leaders and the Legends, the short-lived and ill-fated attempt to have Michigan and Ohio State meet in the Big Ten championship game every year. And I think it was only like 2 seasons, 3 seasons, something like that. It was short.
And I think they never met in the championship game because Wisconsin would beat out Michigan for the title, for the division title.
Right. In whichever one of those they were in.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question of Sporting Haikus. Hockey divisions in the Wales or the Campbell, any of 4 names.
We'll check in.
Hashtag Too Much Minnesota has checked in. Algebros, talk it out.
So I think when it was Wales or Campbell, that's what the two, I don't know if they were called this, but I think those were the 2 conferences effectively.
Yeah.
And there were two divisions in each. And I think it was Norris and Adams and Patrick. And for some reason, I'm blanking on the one that was the most western. Maybe it was Smythe. May have been Smythe. But we only need one of them, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So
pick whatever your favorite name is of the 4. Just pick one.
I'd say Adams. I don't know. We'll check in with Adams.
And hashtag Too Much Minnesota.
Well, Minnesota North Stars were in the Norris division, so we're gonna say Norris. And Chris Berman used to call the NFC Central the NFC Norris division.
Oh, that's right.
And both teams are getting points. Yes, those 4 divisions were, in fact, the Adams, the Norris, the Patrick, and the Smythe. For some reason that I didn't research, the Patrick and the Norris, kind of switched conferences right around 1981 for realignment. So then the Patrick was now in the Wales conference and the Norris was now in the Campbell conference, and something to make it a little bit closer to the Eastern and the Western, I believe. But those are your 4. Okay. After the first quarter, we are rolling because we are all tied up at 100.
We wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon if you'd be interested in supporting us financially. Your contributions will be used to help us cover the costs that it takes to bring you the high-quality sports trivia you have come to expect from us. There's also some great perks that come with the Patreon membership to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, including bonus episodes and Benchwarmers swag. You can find us at patreon.com/benchwarmerstp. Thanks.
That brings us to the second quarter, and I hear all the kids are doing it these days, so I'm going to join in on the fun. Today's second quarter will be Fill the Gaps.
Fill the gaps. This quarter will consist of 3 questions with up to 5 pieces of missing information. The teams will attempt to fill in each piece of missing information. Each answer is worth 10 points.
And we are going to be filling the gaps in some lists for this episode. The first list is going to be the American League MVPs of the 1990s. Here's your list. 1990, blank. 1981, Cal Ripken Jr. 1992, blank. 93 and 94, Frank Thomas. 95, Mo Vaughn. 96, 97, 98, 99, and 2000 are all blank. And here's some flavor for you. Oh. The 1996 and 98 winner is the same player, so only 10 points awarded for him. There is one pitcher missing from the list, and all missing answers won their MVPs for AL West teams.
We will check in.
The Algebros have checked in, so for the first time this episode, #TooMuchMinnesota can talk it out.
Josh, I think you've got them all except 99.
We're not up to the 99 and 2000. Yeah, so Ricky Henderson, 1990, Dennis Eckersley, 92, 96 and 98 is Juan Gonzalez, 97 was Griffey, 99, I think, was Pudge.
Yeah.
And then 2000.
With the Yankees beat in the 2000 playoffs.
I don't know. If that's too early, it's a year too early for Ichiro. Griffey was the only one who could have won out of Seattle around that time. I don't see anyone else winning out of there.
No.
That leaves, and I don't see an Angel. So an A?
Oh, could have been, was it? Could have been Giambi.
He won one, didn't he?
I thought he did.
I say we go with it because I can't think of anyone else, but I think the timing still works for him to be in Oakland.
Yep.
Okay, so we're checking in with Ricky Henderson, Dennis Eckersley, Juan Gonzalez, Ken Griffey Jr., Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, and Jason Giambi.
Okay, and the Algebros, what did you check in with?
Yeah, kind of anticlimactic. We had the exact same. And it was funny that Hugh mentioned who the Yankees beat, because I can't remember if it was in 2000, it might have been 2001, that the famous play where Jeter sort of like flips the ball to get, I think it was actually Giambi's brother out.
It was Giambi.
Yeah. So anyway, yes. So that we had the exact same answers.
And both teams are getting their points. Those are the 6. Very well done. The AL West's stranglehold on the MVP continued for some time after that, with Ichiro in 2001, Miguel Tejada in 2002, Rangers edition A-Rod in 2003, and Vladimir Guerrero on the Angels in 2004. We are going to stay in the 90s for our second Fill the Gaps list. This is going to be NFL number 1 draft picks from 1990 to 2000. 1990, Jeff George. 1991, blank. 1992, blank. 93, Drew Bledsoe. 94, blank. 95, Keyjana Carter. 96, Keyshawn Johnson. 97, blank. 98, Peyton Manning. 99, Tim Couch. 2000, blank. And your flavor, all 5 blanks are linemen, offensive or defensive.
Okay, we will check in.
The Algebros have checked in. #TooMuchMinnesota. Talk it out.
All right. So we think we agree, right, that 91, Russell Maryland.
Yep.
92, Steve Entman. 94 was Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson. 97, Orlando Pace. Now we're up to the 2000. Was that Courtney Brown out of Penn State?
Yeah, because Gophers beat Penn State in 1999. Brown and Arrington went 1 and 2.
I think we got it then, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's Maryland, Entman, Wilkinson, Pace, Brown.
And the Algebros, what did you have?
Yeah, it was kind of a group effort. We each got about half of them. So I knew Entman was one of them. I just couldn't remember 91 or 92. Luckily, David kind of helped with the rest of it. But yeah, we had the same five. So Maryland, Entman, Wilkinson, Pace, and Brown.
That's Washington legend.
Both teams are getting their full 50 points here. That was the list. Russell, Maryland in 91. Steve Entman, 92. Dan Wilkinson, Orlando Pace, Courtney Brown. Very well done. Oh, this one, maybe this last one is the one that finally gets some dents in the armor here. We'll see. The final list in Fill the Gaps. This is a list of the Olympic gold medalists in the women's 100 meters. 2024, Julian Alfred. 2020 and 2016, blank. 2012 and 2008, blank. 2004, Yulia Nestyarenka. 2000, blank. Vacated. 1996 and 1992, blank. 1988, blank. 1984, blank. Your hint is the 6 missing sprinters represent only 2 countries.
That's not much of a hint. Hang on.
Hey, no going into the Mind Palace, cheater.
Not the what is it? What is his? It's not the Mind Palace. Does he still break in? Does he still break into Dan's
breaks
Mind
into
Palace?
the Mind Palace.
Hashtag too much Minnesota. Now he's in Dan's Mind Palace.
Yes.
There'll be lots of Minnesota stuff in there. He's got to comb through all the Minnesota stuff to get to this, though. That's the thing. He's got to dig his way through piles and piles of Minnesota lore and trivia and finally get there. So
it's just blocked by a wall of like fried food from the state fair
and Vikings disappointments.
You're just jars of tears of Vikings
lots
fans,
of those to work your way around. I'd say that if you got that from going into the Mind Palace, you don't get credit for those points. I'm sorry.
I went to the deluxe apartment. Her name was written on the kitchen table.
I don't think Why'd
you have her name written on the kitchen table?
Into the Mind Palace because you don't have to take off your headphones to go to the deluxe apartment. We know where you go.
I'm just wondering why this person's name was written on his table. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what's specific
just on a piece of paper? Somebody left it for me. All right, I think we'll check in.
The Algebros have checked in. Hashtag too much Minnesota. You have a very short amount of time to talk it out.
Well, we can tell you what we got so far. So we got Elaine Thompson for 2020 and 2016. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, 2012 and 2008. Marion Jones was the vacated. Gail Devers was the 96 and 92. 88 was Florence Griffith Joyner. And 84 is where we're stuck because I was 9. I was watching, but that's pretty young to have a lot of recollection of, especially with all the different events. So I don't have the name. Hugh, if you have it in there somewhere.
All I remember is I had a lot of Big Macs that year. With the McDonald's had that gold medal thing, and I was broke a lot of that year, so I had a lot of Big Macs.
Okay.
Don't remember who won the gold that year. It's like,
yeah, I don't have it. All right, we don't have one for 84, but you have our answers for the others.
And the Algebros, what did you have?
So the one that I was actually struggling for some reason, I could not come up with Elaine Thompson's name. We had all the same. Once we got to Elaine Thompson, we had all the same names as our co-players here. But I had 84 early because I remember the McDonald's game too, because they would give away a game piece and you got an event that you would scratch off, and they started this before they realized that the Soviet Union was going to boycott. So McDonald's just was giving away every time. If you got one that was where America won a gold, a silver, and a bronze, you got a Big Mac, a fries, and a drink. So yes, it was a big deal. So anyway, the gold that year was Evelyn Ashford.
Okay, both teams getting their points. Algebros picking up the extra for Evelyn Ashford, who was the 84 gold medalist. She probably also would have won it in 1980 had the U.S. not boycotted the Olympics, because Evelyn Ashford was real fast. She held the world record in the 60-yard dash for decades, and she was the first woman to run under 11 seconds in an Olympic Games. after the second quarter, we have a lead. We have the Algebros at 270 and Too Much Minnesota right behind at 260. That brings us to halftime.
It is now time for the halftime show. There will be 3 entertainment questions. Each question is worth 25 points.
For halftime, we're doing yet another episode of Teams in a Song. If you haven't been here for this is how this works. I am going to give you some information about a song, pairing that with 3 athletes that have their numbers retired, and you kind of have to mash them up. So here's one from a previous game as an example. If I had said Joan Jett, the Blackhearts, Calvin Murphy, Elvin Hayes, and Rudy Tomjanovich took this song to number 3 on the Billboard charts in 1982, your answer would be I Love Rockets and Roll. Question 1 of halftime. This 1966 number 1 hit by the Rolling Stones is about Chris Chelios, Stan Mikita, and Tony Esposito seeing a red door and wanting it to be a different color.
We'll check in.
The Algebros have checked in hashtag Too Much Minnesota. What you got?
Yeah, I know exactly what it is. It is Painted Blackhawks.
Yep.
And the Algebros, what you got?
We texted it to each other right away. Painted Blackhawks. I'm just terrified that you have one oldies on here like the last time I was on, and the next one's going to be Maya songs. So
there's no Maya in this halftime show. I can
Yes.
promise you that. Both teams are getting points. It is Painted Blackhawks.
Okay.
Question 2. This 1969 song by Chicago peaked at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and features Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, and Steve Young waiting for the break of day and searching for something to say.
I got it.
Check in.
We can check in.
Hashtag Too Much Minnesota has checked in. The Algebros, talk it out.
This is 25 or 6 to 49ers. Thanks to me being in a middle school band when I was in 8th grade, we played 25 or 6 to 4. I played saxophone. It was very fun.
Always been a band favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're gonna check in with.
And hashtag Too Much Minnesota.
Yep. My pep band, this was one of our go-tos. We played it all the time. So yes, this is 25 or 6 to 49ers.
The pep band favorites were 25 or 64. Smoke on the Water, always, because not a lot of notes in that one either.
You better not over talk this, Hugh. That could be the next.
It could be.
The next one.
That's true.
Both teams getting points. It is 25 or 6 to 49ers. Yeah, between Chicago, Earth, Wind, and Fire and Tower of Power, I don't think you need any other bands to make like a full pep band repertoire that everybody's going to love, because all you need is some good horn lines, and Chicago certainly has some. The final question of halftime. This 1980 song by AC/DC was their first single featuring Brian Johnson as lead singer. And I suppose Vince Young, Ricky Williams, and Earl Campbell could also be described as fast machines.
We'll check in.
The Algebros have checked in. Hashtag Too Much Minnesota. Talk it up.
Oh, you know what? I think it's going to be Shook Me All Night Long.
Longhorns. That's it.
That's the name of the song, right? It was.
Yeah.
Or is it You? Is it You Shook Me All Night Long, or just Shook Me All Night Long? I don't know if he's going to be that picky. I think it's You. All right, so we're going to check in with You Shook Me All Night Longhorns.
And the Algebros, what you have?
All right, so I read this too quickly. I pulled an Eid. I
Me
saw
too.
Earl Campbell. I immediately texted Mason and said, or messaged Mason and said, Houston Oilers. And he came back with, You shook me Oilers night long.
If you have a really strong accent, you can pull it off.
If you say that, and he said, does that work? And I said, well, it depends if you want Josh rolling his eyes at you, because then it works. But we did eventually come around to You shook me all night Longhorns.
Both teams are getting points. This is You Shook Me All Night Longhorns. Correct. All right. After halftime, scores have changed. Deficit remains the same. The Algebros with 345. Too Much Minnesota. Pardon me. Hashtag Too Much Minnesota with 335. That brings us to the third quarter, which will be 5-on-3.
Five on 3. For this quarter, there will be 3 categorized lists containing 5 items, where each item is worth 10 points. The teams will attempt to guess as many items as they can. However, if a team has an incorrect guess, they will receive 0 points for that list.
Thought maybe we were going to get lucky for a lucky 7 and be only 10
I
points
was hoping
behind.
for
That would be an ideal time for a lucky 7, but
I was
no,
anticipating a missing link just randomly popping up. So
I'm a little like, I'm trying to stay off of missing links because Josh and Matt complain about editing them so much. They end up in the second quarter all the time.
Well, they just
So
don't
there
end
was
up in the first that much because it's a weird one to throw like
Also
right
true.
off the bat.
Yeah.
I will tell you actually that part of the reason why I started editing my own episodes is because Matt complained incessantly about missing links. So I just said, I'm always going to have them, so I'll just freaking edit my own episodes and then I
Right.
won't have to worry about it. So
I
Yeah,
have thrown Matt a missing link recently because I was like, I can't give
You gotta
Taco
keep him
all of
humble.
them.
yeah.
You got to keep Matt Doherty humble.
It's
Yeah, there was a run on the editing calendar where it was like missing link second quarter for like 4 straight episodes. I was like, okay, fine. Go.
This is Matt from the future. The harsh words here by my cohorts on the podcast will be noted, and to quote both George H.W. Bush and the dude, this aggression will not stand.
Nice.
All right, here we go. Question number 1 of 5 on 3. Please give me the 5 career passing yards leaders for the Oklahoma Sooners. As a hint, all 5 players played this century. There are exactly 3 Heisman winners on the list.
We're gonna check in.
Hashtag Too Much Minnesota has checked in, so the Algebros, talk it out.
well, this is where we are. We've got Bradford, we've got White, we've got Mayfield,
and Landry Jones,
and we've got Landry Jones for sure. And then
I
we've
think
got
he
a-
might be number 1 because he was there for a few years and
That's
he just
right.
started. Like, he
That's
just
right.
started,
He might have been there for 5 years with a red shirt or something. So
honestly.
Then we came up with a whole bunch of trap answers. We're afraid to say Kyler Murray. We're afraid to say Dylan Gabriel. We're afraid to say Spencer Rattler. We're afraid to say Jalen Hurts, who was definitely not there long enough. There are a lot of big names who went through there, but then the question is, so who's the answer we're most sure of if we had to pick a fifth, if we wanted to pick a fifth?
I mean, Josh Heupel was quarterback for a couple years, but I think what you said earlier, because he just said that he played this century, but he wouldn't have started. He started in the late 90s.
No, he would have been in the. If I remember right, he would have been late 90s into the 2000s.
So that could count for this. It just said he played this century. So
Right,
that
but
would
I am
still count.
I'm not feeling very confident at all. I can't. There's part of me that wants to go Mayfield, Bradford, White, and Landry Jones.
Yeah.
But I'll follow your lead, honestly. If you want to go with Heupel, then
Well, the only other thing is we have a gap from like 2005, 2006, where we have no idea who started it because all the other names kind of cover most of it, except for
it's fair.
the name I was proud of pulling, Trevor Knight, because he was a starter for like 2 years, but he was not very good, and there's no way.
Right.
All
right.
but-
So then, given that gap, that's our our wiggle room. So okay.
Yeah, because I'm just think I'm worried. If we guess Heupel or something, that there's some guy that was there for 2 years and was slinging it that sneaks in at 5 that I just don't remember.
I totally agree. All right, so we will check in with Mayfield, Bradford, White, and Landry Jones.
And hashtag Too Much Minnesota.
Sounds exactly like our conversation.
Very much, very much. We definitely were trying to come up with a fifth, and all of it, is like Murray, not enough years to be able to. Rattler didn't get enough go while he was there. It's so. I think Landry Jones is number 1. I think he's won by a couple thousand yards. Mm-hmm. But then we also had Mayfield, Bradford, and White as well. So the same 4.
All right. Well, both teams are getting their points for those 4. Let's go through the list. Number 1, by a wide margin, is 4-year starter Landry Jones with 16,646 yards. In second is Baker Mayfield, 12,292, followed by Sam Bradford with 8,403. Number 4 was Jason White with 7,922. And in 5th place, The starter in the 1999 and 2000 season was Josh Heupel with 6,852 yards, 24 yards ahead of number 6 on the list, which is Oregon Ducks legend Dylan Gabriel. Rounding out the top 10, we had Cale Gundy in 7th, Nate Hibble in 8th, Kyler Murray in 9th, and Spencer Rattler in 10th. If you're looking for the quarterbacks during that 2005-2006 time, can I interest you in Paul Thompson?
Oh, no.
Is the name?
Or
how about Rhett Bomar was the other one. He was the
cool name, but
starter.
I'm not interested in him either.
Yes.
I don't have that much money in my wallet to give Josh right now.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Running all these names thrown around.
And
Wasn't Red Beaumont Gone with the Wind?
yes.
We
played.
we didn't even have Josh Heupel as a name that came up. That's I forgot that was a dude that played in Oklahoma.
He's a coach now, so you don't the coach of Tennessee, you don't think about him.
I don't think about him at
Mason,
all.
you mentioned Trevor Knight. He's 13th on the list. Heisman winner Caleb Williams, 24th in one season. Caleb Williams in 1 year had more yards than Blake Bell in his entire career.
Oh, that's a guy with Trevor Knight. They were like tandem kind of thing.
They were the Thunder and
on.
Lightning. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's move to question number 2 in 5-on-3. Please give me the top 5 NHL goaltenders in all-time wins. As a hint, all 5 played this century. 4 are in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and the one who isn't is still active.
All right, we'll check in.
The Algebros have checked in. Hashtag too much Minnesota. Talk it up.
Okay, we could probably checked in a while ago. We thought, just let them sit and stew for a bit. We have Brodeur, Fleury, Luongo, Roy, and Belfour as the 5. I don't think that's the order there necessarily. I think Roy might be 3rd.
Yeah.
And Luongo might be 4th. But I'm almost certain those are the 5. Do you need first names?
I don't.
Okay, well then we'll check that in.
If anybody will abide by Jeopardy rules, it's me. All right, and the Algebros, what you got?
Well, I'm glad to hear that's what they checked in with, because we also checked in with those same 5, and the one I was actually most nervous about was Luongo, because somewhere I feel like Lundqvist has got to be pretty high on the list, and then I was getting nervous that Cujo's on the list, but anyway, we ultimately checked in with the same 5.
Well, let's go down the list just to build some drama. Number 1 with 691 wins is Martin Brodeur. Number 2 with 564 wins is Marc-Andre Fleury. Number 3 with 551 wins is Patrick Roy. Number 4 with 489 wins is Roberto Luongo. And number 5 with 484 wins is Ed Belfour. So full points to both teams. Rounding out the top 10, we've got Henrik Lundqvist at 6, Cujo at 7, and then Terry Sawchuk, Jacques Plante, and Tony Esposito at 8, 9, and 10. So nice work from both teams. And David, your Carolina Hurricanes comment reminded me. I have a wine guy in Napa. I don't want to brag. But we were up at his wine tasting room the other day, and he does wine consulting on the side in addition to making his own wine. And he is consulting with Hurricanes legend Cam Ward's new wine venture.
Oh,
we got to try a little bit of Cam Ward's Cabernet Sauvignon. It's pretty damn good.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
So,
just to let you know that I think you and I, if you had done a lucky 7 with this, we would have run the table. Just
yeah, it sounds like Lux had Lundqvist and Cujo on 6 and 7.
I did
too,
actually, yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Now,
All right.
when you say Cam Ward, you mean the Miami quarterback, not the
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
All right. The final question in 5-on-3. Please give me the top 5 Japanese-born MLB career hits leaders. Here's a hint. All 5 played this century. Only 4 of these players played professionally in Japan before coming to Major League Baseball.
Okay, well then I think we're still okay because
then who's your 5th?
we don't know. That's what I'm saying. So then we have 2 shots at it. We have 2 shots at it if you think about it that way. That one of the 2 could be this guy, and we don't know what the 5th one is. But it's just the problem is we have 17 answers, and then just you can't check in with all of them like everybody else does in this podcast.
I can check the rules, but I don't think you're allowed to have 17 answers for this round.
Every other time, Matt Doherty checks in 17 every time.
Says, all right, we're going to always 17. That's always what Doherty says. He cracks me up every time with it. I love it.
It's like we'll check in with all 17 answers.
Yeah,
right.
Wow. Because he doesn't want to let on how many answers we're noodling over. All right, Mason, what do you want to do? Because we
Hugh, should we just check in? Put him out of the misery.
Check in.
All right. We'll check in.
Hashtag Too Much Minnesota has checked in. Algebros, you have about 4 seconds to talk it out.
All right, here's what we got. We're going to talk really fast.
Right now.
Ichiro for sure is on the list. Otani, we feel like, has gotten close to 1,000 hits. He's probably on the list. Hideki Matsui is definitely over 1,000 hits. So those 3 guys seem like sure things. Then we get to some exceedingly gray area because we have Aoki, we have Kaz Matsui. We think one of those guys could be on the list. And the guy that I know that was absolutely positively born in Japan is actually Red Sox legend Dave Roberts. And I am sure he was born in Japan, but I think there might be some other guy who sort of snuck in there that was born in Japan also. So if I'm going to play it safe, I go Ichiro, Otani, Hideki Matsui, and call it a day. But Mason, if you want to take a chance,
I'm okay with it. If you're sure he's born in Japan and you gave me the ballpark number is not terribly far off from where you think Otani is right now, then I don't see why he's not on the list. But that's up to you. I'm fine with it. You've talked me into it, but you're talking yourself out of it. So I don't know what you want to do. You decide.
Well, the problem is that all three of these guys are 1,000 plus. Dave Roberts, my guess is because even when he was a Red Sox legend, he was a pinch runner. So he did not have that many. He did not have that many hits. So my temptation is to go Ichiro, Otani, Matsui, and just call it. But
sure.
if I were to take a shot, my last 2 would be Aoki and Dave Roberts. But you tell me, do you want to take a chance?
I've already told you I'm fine with Dave Roberts. You keep asking me whether I'm okay with it, and I keep saying yes.
All right, so what the hell?
You do what you want to do.
Dave Roberts, that's going to be our 4th.
So just to clarify, you're checking in with Ichiro,
Otani, Matsui, and Dave Roberts.
Got it. And Too Much Minnesota. What you got?
Well, we know that Tsuyoshi Nishioka is not on that list. I don't even think he cracked 100 hits. I'd be surprised if he cracked 50 hits.
50 hits, yes.
Sorry, that's too much. Hashtag Too Much Minnesota going on there. They spent way too much money to get him there. Anyway, yeah, we had some similar names. Some other ones that I don't know. I don't remember hearing them say necessarily. But the other Matsui, Kaz, I don't think he's going to quite be top 5. Fukudome, I think he's going to be somewhere in that 10, but I don't think he's top 5. So spoiler alert. We also checked in with Ichiro, Hideki Matsui, Otani, and Dave Roberts.
Funny.
Well, let's go through the list here. Number 1, by a margin, Ichiro Suzuki with 3,089 hits, more than every other Japanese-born player combined. No, but close. Number 2 is Hideki Matsui with 1,253. Number 3 on the list, Shohei Otani with 878 and counting. Number 4 on the list, San Francisco Giants legend Nori Aoki with 774. And number 5 on the list, born in Okinawa, half Japanese, and we love shouting out a half Japanese legend, Dave Roberts with 721 hits. So both teams getting their points. Yeah, Nori Aoki was the one, got tossed around, but nobody could commit to it. Aoki had the misfortune of being on the Royals when they lost to the Giants in the 2014 World Series, then joining the Giants and then having the Royals win the 2015 World Series. So he had some unfortunate timing with his moves there.
He was the one that we couldn't come up with, and I just didn't feel comfortable with those other I think, like I said, I think some of those others are going to be pretty close, but not quite there, obviously.
I mean, 774 hits in 6 big league seasons is not too shabby. His rookie year with the Brewers, he had 150 hits and then followed that up with 171 in 2013. So he had a decent little start there.
We actually were throwing around Aoki quite seriously because Mason said to me, I can't remember his name, but he was Brewers in the early 2010s or something.
That's all I had on him. I knew that. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. We got to him, but just didn't feel confident.
Right. Rounding out the top 10, number 6 is Kaz Matsui with 615. Then Kosuke Fukudome with 498. 494, Tadahito Iguchi. Number 9 is Mariners legend Kenji Jojima at 431. And then number 10, Akinori Iwamura with 413. And what'd you say, Josh? You'd be surprised if Tsuyoshi Nishioka cracked 50 hits?
Yeah.
He has exactly 50 hits.
Well, I'm surprised that all right, he hit 50. Good for him.
He is 15 behind Hideo Nomo on the hits list.
Oh God, he was bad. And he couldn't field worth a damn.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? All right. At the end of the third quarter, here are our following scores. The Algebros with 475, followed closely by Too Much Minnesota with 465. That brings us to the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This quarter consists of 4 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, not to exceed their current point total.
And for this fourth quarter, we are finally wrapping up my Continental Series with a trip to Asia. That's why I ended the third quarter with a Japanese category. So our Continental Series Asia categories are as follows. Question number 1, the NHL. Question 2, the NBA. Question 3, the World Cup. And then question 4, the teams are going to get a little bit of a choose your own adventure. I have 3 name that athlete questions of similar difficulties. And each team will get the chance to choose one of those questions and wager according to the category that they are choosing. So for question 4, the final question, each team can either have 21st century golf, 20th century baseball, or 21st century Olympics. It's now time for the teams to place their wagers.
We'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BenchwarmersTP. We also have a Facebook group for fans of the pod called The Bench. Join us there to comment on the latest episodes and share cool sports facts and trivia. If you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thanks.
Now that the wagers are in, on to the questions. Question number 1 of the fourth quarter in the Continental Series of Asia, in the category of NHL. There is only one player of Asian descent that has been elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame. He played for 4 teams in his 15-year career, finishing with 402 career goals and 399 career penalty minutes, winning 2 Lady Bings. He also ranks in the top 5 in career goals, assists, and hat tricks for the team that drafted him. Name this Japanese, Scottish, Canadian left wing who made 7 All-Star games between 1996 and 2003.
We'll check in.
Hashtag Too Much Minnesota has checked in. Algebros, talk it out.
I'm pretty sure, I don't really have much to go on here, but I'm pretty sure that it's Paul Kariya. I think his dad was Japanese. That's the name, Kariya, K-A-R-I-Y-A. And he was drafted by the Ducks, who he played for, and because they're a newer franchise, it would make sense that somebody that's fairly recent could be the top 5 in goals, assists, and hat tricks for the team that drafted him. And that's about when he was sweet spot. But I mean, the funny thing is, I remember him because he was a Maine legend. I think he won the whatever it's called,
The Hobie
The
Baker.
The Hobie Baker.
We won the Hobie.
And he's actually around my age, or maybe a few years younger, even. So, but I okay, Mason, you got anything on this? Because I just rambled for a while.
He's 130. Sorry.
Yes, that's what you got to come back with. Is he's 130?
I don't know who this
No,
person is. I said I would owe $5 to Josh. So
I said he was
that's all I had.
younger by a few years, Mason.
You said you were almost the same age as him, so that's what I heard.
That's right. That's true. Okay. All right. Enough of the shenanigans. We will check in with Paul Correa.
For how many points?
100.
And hashtag too much Minnesota. What you got?
Yeah. Yep. We're pretty quick, Hugh and I, to agree that this is Paul Correa. We also wagered 100, and I think he's closer to my age than your age, David, just to say.
Okay.
I think he's got maybe a year or two on me, but
Okay.
I think he's closer to me than you. Different old guy. Not quite 130, maybe only 105.
112.
So,
right? Exactly.
So what does that make me? God.
No.
Gee.
Hugh, we've determined that there is nobody whoever comes on this podcast that is older than David. Even if you say you were born before him, it's just not true. David is the oldest person to ever be on the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast.
Well, both teams are getting points. Correct answer is Paul Tetsuhiko Correa. He was born in 1974. He's currently 50. So I will just let that sit out there in the ether for everyone to do math if you want. He was not teammates with, King Clancy or whatever. Yep. And David, you nailed it right on the head. He is a Maine Black Bear legend, and he did win the Hobie Baker while at the University of Maine.
I know why I know why
leading them to the 1993 NCAA title.
But I think he won the Hobie Baker as a freshman, and I think that's when I was still in college when he won the Hobie Baker, and was, to the extent I've ever been a college hockey fan, it was then. So I think that's why I thought he was closer to my age, because it was his freshman year, was probably my senior year.
That is correct. He did win it as a freshman.
Okay, there we go. All right, I feel a little bit better, even if it was 130 years ago. Yeah.
Both teams bet 100. The deficit is still 10. No drama. Let's move on to the next question. In the category of Asian NBA, a number of American players have gotten citizenship from the country of Georgia in order to play for their national team, including Jacob Pullen, Torian Green, and Shammond Williams. But which former NBA big man is far the most successful Georgian basketball player of all time, with a 16-year career that included 2 championships? He was born in the Georgian capital of Tbilisi on February 10th, 1984.
Sure. All right, we're going to check in.
Hashtag Too Much Minnesota has checked in the Algebros. Talk it up.
All right, go ahead, Mason.
Well, I mean, I had to figure out the time frame. I'm glad you gave me a name that I remembered once you said it. Because I was like, okay, this guy's 40 years old. That means he probably retired a few years ago. If he had a 16-year career, came in as a teenager, and then all I got from David is, where is that guy Zaza from? And from there, that's all that I need. That's all that I needed. Because Zaza Pachulia played for the Warriors. He would want to do with them. I imagine he is Georgian. I didn't know exactly where he's from, but that's from the right geographical area. Yeah, you good with that, David?
I am. I think we should check that in.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We will check that in for 100 points.
And hashtag Too Much Minnesota. What you got?
This has been a very anticlimactic game when it comes to revealing answers so far. I think because they had one more answer than us on one thing. Otherwise, I think all of our answers have matched pretty much the whole game. And that trend is not going to fail this time, because we also checked in with Jaja Pachulia for 100 points.
Oh.
Both teams are getting points. It is Jaja Gabor Pachulia. Yes, Zaza did win both of his titles with the Warriors. He was drafted by Orlando in 2003, played for 7 teams in his career, and received the Order of Honor from Republic of Georgia President Georgi Margvelashvili in 2017. All right, question 3 in the category of the World Cup. 2 Asian nations have advanced to the semifinals of a men's World Cup, both doing so in 2002, where they played each other in the 3rd place game. Name either country.
We're going to check in.
The Algebros have checked in. Hashtag too much Minnesota. Talk it up.
My brain wants to. So you thought Japan and South Korea. I just don't.
You're there.
My brain was thinking Turkey and South Korea.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we overlap on South
I think
Korea.
South
Do we
Korea. Think we agree on South Korea. So
should we just check in with that? Because
yeah.
if you and I differ on the other team, but we agree on the one, should we go with that?
Yep.
All right. So we're going to check in with South Korea for 100 points.
And the Algebros, what'd you have?
Yeah, I can't come up with the other one. So, but again, with very little suspense, we checked in with South Korea for 91 points.
Well,
for 91 points.
Both teams are getting their points. One of the teams was South Korea. The 2002 Men's World Cup was co-hosted by South Korea and Japan. But the third place game in that 2002 World Cup was South Korea and Turkey.
That's true. Japan, the Blues are always make the Japanese blue because they always peter out like in the quarterfinals. It seems like they're always ranked and they always just peter out in the quarters.
Mm-hmm. They're in that for me, like Japan and Mexico have very similar trajectories in the World Cup where they're you want to like them and then in the quarterfinals they're out.
Like and obviously like the women have been successful.
Mm-hmm. They won the 2011 Women's World Cup.
Yeah, they beat the U.S. in penalties.
Yeah. So I think that's where maybe it was hitting me wrong because I was like, I just didn't think the men had quite been that successful. So
yeah.
All right. Could be a hashtag too much Korea.
That's true. I like that.
It all comes down to the final question of the game. Currently, the scores stand: the Algebros 766, hashtag too much Minnesota 765. So here we go, and it does all come down to our choose your own adventure round, where the teams are picking from either 21st century golf, 20th century baseball, or 21st century Olympics. Let's go to hashtag too much Minnesota first because you're trailing. What category would you like?
Oh, I thought we are going to go with the 20th century baseball.
Okay. And the Algebros, what question are you taking?
Well, we hadn't decided this beforehand, and Mason and I do not agree. So we're going to have to flip a coin.
Ooh, drama.
I want 20th century baseball. Mason
Wait, if they took it, does that mean we don't get it?
Oh, we don't get it?
You can get it. You can have it.
Oh, okay.
You could both have the same question.
Okay. I thought it was like a drafting kind of thing. Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. If you feel better about baseball, that's fine. I would lean golf because the 21st century golf is stronger for me, but if you feel good about baseball, that's fine. I'm okay with it.
You tell me, Mason, which one?
Oh my God! I thought we were supposed to have this figured out before we got here.
All right, that's right. I'm acting like you're a guest. I should stop this. We're going to take 20th century baseball. We're going to take 20th century.
Hashtag too much deference.
That's right.
All right, so that makes my job easier because I only have to read one question. I love that. For me, the final question of the game in the category of 20th century baseball is as follows. In September of 1964, 31 years before Hideo Nomo made his debut for the Dodgers, what relief pitcher became the first Japanese-born player to play in the major leagues, pitching a scoreless inning for the San Francisco Giants? After some international diplomacy, he pitched the entire 1965 season for the Giants before returning to Japan and the Nankai, now Fukuoka, Hawks for the remainder of his career.
We'll take the golf question.
No, I'm just giving you a moment, David.
Okay.
We're going to check in.
Hashtag too much Minnesota has checked in. The Algebros for the final time. Talk it out.
Wow, the timing is perfect because I kept saying to Mason that I always know the rhythm of the names. This guy, his initials are MM, and it's like four syllables. And when I said that to Mason, he just came back with it's either this or really close to this. But Mason just came back with Murakami.
Well, because that's a name that, although I know a famous Japanese writer with that same last name, so maybe it's somewhat of a more common last name, but
could be.
But I mean, that's a 4-syllable last name starting with M. It fits the rhythm of what you want. And I know that is a Japanese last name and don't remember for sure if it's his. And I feel like this is something I should know. And I remember watching a video about this. I just don't remember for sure his name. So if you like that as an answer, I don't hate it because I don't have anything better. I just was fitting what you were giving me and coming up with something.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we're going with Murakami 400.
Yep.
And hashtag too much Minnesota. What you got?
I wrote a David versus Goliath question, where this answer was the Goliath. This was earlier. This was, in the first year. So basically before episode 100, it was somewhere in the earlier parts. It's Masanori Murakami. Masanori Murakami. God, I can't. You get what I'm saying, right? You got it?
That's why the first name is very familiar to do, Mason, because it's basically Masonry.
There you go.
Yes. So we're checking in with Masanori Murakami for 100 points.
All right. Well, both teams are getting their points. It is Masanori Murakami. He came over to the Giants Fresno minor league team in 1964, almost like an exchange program with the Nankai Hawks. And then he pitched really well, and they brought him up in September of 1964, and he kept pitching really well. So much so that when the Hawks were like, all right, it's time to send him back to Japan, the Giants were like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep him. And and there was a whole argument, and like the commissioners of both Nippon Professional Baseball and Major League Baseball had to get involved. And the compromise was he would pitch one more full season for the Giants before returning to Japan, which he did. So very nicely done. And yes, Mason, no relation to Haruki Murakami, but it is the same name. Well, the game has come to an end, and here are our scores. Hashtag Too Much Minnesota put up a heck of a performance with 865 points, but the clipboard captains who will be receiving the coveted Trevor Knight Award goes to the Algebros with 866. Very well done by both teams. Hugh, great job. Really, really nice plan. Is there anything else you want to shout out or say before we get out of here?
Well, I just spent 3 days at the Twin Cities Con, the biggest comic book and pop culture convention in Minnesota, with about 15,000 of my closest friends, and had a great time selling the Council Room Doctor Who convention that's happening in end of January, beginning February of 2025. So if you're in Bloomington, Minnesota during that time, come see me.
Nice. All right. Anything else for the good of the order from the Benchwarmers?
That was episode 36.
Oh, nice. So 36 to 283. As long as we only repeat questions once every 175 episodes.
Totally I think we're safe.
250 episods.
I was like, as soon as you were like reading, I'm like, I know this. And then I was like, wait, I wrote this.
That will happen when you've had 283 episodes.
Yes.
Well, for all of us here at the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, I have been Taco. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, we will keep the bench warm.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch. Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the ball. Yes.
Into deep left center for Mitchell, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
That great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at Benchwarmers TP.